Welcome, everybody, to the very first episode of Absolute Pro Wrestling After the Bell, where we discuss everything APW. Tonight, joining me for this very first episode is the man behind the scenes with Absolute Pro Wrestling, promoter Jason Prentice, and the one and only Ricky Bronson. And we are going to talk a little bit about Absolute Pro Wrestling, what's happened recently, what's happened this year, and then what's to look forward to in the 2025 and beyond. Welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Yeah, we got the big view. So we got the big view of the guns down below. I mean, my goodness, Ricky Bronson looking like a certified G down there. I mean, show those guns off real quick, Ricky. Let's show them off.
Ready to come back, baby.
Louise.
Ready to come back. Winter brawl.
Winter brawl. Is that official?
That's the winner, and this is the brawl right here, baby. Bringing it. You know what I'm talking about.
Louise. I guess that's breaking news. Along with our ticker here at the bottom. We'll talk more about that throughout this broadcast. But, yeah, glad to be a part of this. Something different, something new. And, you know, if it's something different, Ricky's definitely in. And if you know it's something new and exciting, I'm definitely in. So just excited to get to this first episode, Clint.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time talking a little bit about APW. We just wrapped up the last show of the year, another tremendous year of action-packed entertainment all year long, great matches, amazing storytelling, and just kind of all wrapped up a couple weeks ago during the Christmas Chaos 2. Jason, when it comes to Christmas Chaos 2, what were kind of your thoughts, how the show went, and the fans in Algona showing out again like they always do? What were kind of your thoughts going into that show and then after everything was over?
For me, it was one of those situations that it's nice to end the year at home. A home field game for us is always fun, being there with my family and friends, going uptown to celebrate afterwards. It was a hot crowd. You know, those VFW shows, it's a smaller venue, so you always think, okay, the draw might be a little bit down. It typically is pretty good in Algona for what we've created over the last year and a half there, 2 years. And, you know, compared to what we've done at the Floral Hall, it was down a little bit, but for what we've done at the VFW, oh my goodness, like we did pretty good numbers for the last show of the year. We were really excited about it. And I think what helped was the stipulation of fans bring the weapons. A lot of folks got involved in that. A lot of folks brought some unique weapons. I saw the typical keyboards. I love those. I think, honestly, the keyboards for me are my favorite weapons just because with the history of wrestling in Algona, fans bring the weapons matches that have taken place. The keyboard is like the number one thing that gets used. Mostly by guys like Justin Decent or the Morbid Angel. They like to crack each other over the head with those. But I saw a few of those, some different unique little touches of holiday wrapping paper around a kendo stick, just different items throughout from the Algona faithful. But we had matches such as the tag match, which featured our APW tag champions, the 319, Ethan Everhart, Jay Wesley. They were not defending their titles, but they were, of course, defending their honor in the tag division, taking on Trent Hammer and new tag partner for Hammer in the form of Damon Dillinger. Quite the outing for this newfound team. I don't know if that's a permanent thing for us at Absolute Pro Wrestling, but as you can see, these guys really put in the work on the tag champions, and it wasn't until Ethan Everhart got in at the very end that the momentum kind of changed a little bit. The energy, the dynamic of the whole match just shifted over to the 319, and I think it tells a good story about what their dynamic is as a team. It showcases Ethan's strength. They had a great matchup, and even though it was a valiant effort by Dillinger and Hammer, it's the 319 that walked away with the win. And I know, Clint, one of the other matches that we had as well that everybody was looking forward to was Alvin Falcone against the Big Picture.
I mean, Alvin Falcone, you can just see how much he has really dove into being a part of APW, and every time he comes out, he has probably one of the best matches of the night. And then you put him in the ring with a veteran like the Big Picture, it's going to be fireworks every time. And making it even more important is that, you know, Big Picture is holding that openweight championship. And, you know, Alvin Falcone wants that. You know, after the match, he was kind of yelling at you about the outcome of the match, and Big Picture kind of leaving, you know, abruptly and not kind of finishing the match and demanding a title shot for that opportunity. So when January comes around, if he gets that opportunity, he's probably going to try to look and, you know, take advantage of it all he can. And I know one person who's going to be watching that intently is Mr. Ricky Bronson, who he's had his eye on the open weight title since it was introduced. So I know that'll be you'll have your eye on that, won't you, Ricky?
With Alvin Falcone, man, I've been very impressed with him from what I saw. Unfortunately, I missed quite a bit of some of the year's action, but I was able to come back and commentate a few of the shows. And from what I did see and what I did commentate, Alvin Falcone is a fan favorite here, and he's definitely a force to be reckoned with. I'm actually a little bummed I missed that match between the Big Picture and Alvin Falcone, because those two, what a dynamic. You know,
Mm-hmm.
You have that up and comer and then that veteran, but just that they don't call the Big Picture a monster for no reason. I've been in the ring with Big Picture, and he's nasty, baby. And Alvin Falcone, he can be nasty too. He's a big, strong boy, but he's got a little bit of that finesse and that swag to him that you really don't see from Big Picture. He's just going to come out and just overpower you and just be that big, nasty monster. I'm a little bummed I missed that match, but yeah, no. To get back to what you're saying, that open weight title has been kind of eluding me for a little bit of time, and every time I wake up and I think about Absolute Pro Wrestling, I'm thinking about that title, baby. I ain't lying.
Well, to kind of piggyback off of what Ricky was saying about the Big Picture, and even the comments about Alvin Falcone with this matchup from this past Saturday, I think that a lot of what Alvin brings to the table and brought on Saturday as well, I think that shook the Big Picture a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
What we saw at the Christmas Chaos event, I think that caught Picture off guard, and I was talking about that a little bit on commentary with Tom Chiltram. Shout out to the 2 Count podcast. Check them out on Tuesdays. I felt like the Big Picture came in with a game plan, seek and destroy, win at all costs. There's no room for failure. We heard that sentence from the Big Picture post-match.
Mm-hmm.
We heard that after the 10-man tag in Waterloo, where the Free World, if you haven't heard by now, they kicked out Jackson King out of the Free World. They said, we don't need you anymore. We have no room for losers, which it's such a tough thing. It was a count-out, loss for the Big Picture in Algona, but he still holds on to the title. And his comments post-match made it seem like it was a tactical move. He holds on to the gold, so it's not a failure. But he can't do that. He can't get away from Alvin Falcone, I feel, in Waterloo. I think he's going to have to address this big, nasty demon that is Alvin Falcone. And obviously a count-out in Waterloo would keep the title on the Big Picture. I don't see Alvin allowing that to be the case here on the 25th.
Well, and Alvin has to, keep his eye out, one eye always watching for those other members of the Free World who are always kind of lingering around too. Because like you said, they don't think failure is an option, and they're willing to go out and do anything they can to make sure that it doesn't happen too. So he'll have his hands full.
I think every superstar in Absolute Pro Wrestling has got to be, looking out for the Free World. There's shysters, man.
Yeah, when we saw them in August this year, the 319, the Free World, and the Boys, which, by the way, was on Clint Dye's top 24 list. We'll talk more about that towards the end of the show. Shout out to Clint. He knows what I'm talking about. But when we saw that match in August and we saw the 319 take the tag titles off of the Boys, the Free World, I felt like that's when the chip developed on their shoulder a little bit. When you have Matty Starr, who is the first ever APW champion. No one can take that away from him. And then you have the Big Picture, who's now the current openweight champion. These 2 young kids were tasked with the job of getting gold. Bring the gold over. Let's complete this. Matty will find a way to the title. You guys have the tag. Picture has the openweight. Let's complete this. And they haven't been able to do so. They haven't pitched a perfect game yet. They haven't perfected their plan. And I think that's been a huge problem. And also at Christmas Chaos, I think we saw another kind of chink in the armor a little bit when we saw the Shank take on Leo Santel. Great segue into that match, by the way, guys, as it was a really good contest between the two men. Shank brought out some things I've never seen from him in a wrestling match, which I think that's telling of what's coming up. And I know we're going to talk about that towards the end of the show as well. But the Shank in singles competition is such a rare sight to see. We're used to seeing him with Bryce Jordan, killing it in tag team action. And going against Leo Santel, it was quite the performance from the Shank. He was down a little bit. Santel had him against the ropes at one point in the match as he had the Texas Cloverleaf applied and was really working over Shank's leg. But Shank was able to come back after hitting, by the way, a Buddha Doom or a Claymore, whatever you want to call it. He used his bad leg to get back into the advantage and get back in the driver's seat. That led to a TKO, and Shank gets into the pay window at Christmas Chaos. I think there's a lot of pressure, and I know, Clint, you've seen it. I know, Ricky, you're starting to see it a little more too. As far as the Shank is concerned, I feel like there was an interaction with him and Aaron Von Buren that made this side of Shank start to appear a little more on the singles side, maybe a little more of a risk taker in certain facets of his game. I think at the end of Gold Rush 3, that visual of the Shank and Aaron Von Buren was quite telling of what AVB wants. And I think it was quite telling of what the Shank wants. Right. And if you're any of the participants, I love Ricky, but if you're anybody that's in that Winter Brawl Classic, the Shank's 1,000% in it. If you have to go up against a guy like that now, I'm worried for you guys because this is a different Shank than what we've really ever seen in singles competition.
Well, you made a perfect point. Sorry, Ricky. You made a perfect point there. For a while there, Shank, seemed really kind of doubting himself, but he seems to have gotten that confidence back. So that could be foretelling of what's to come. But yeah, Ricky, what were you going to say about Shank and all this?
No, I was just going to say, for a while, teaming up with Bryce Jordan and Du Bois, Bryce Jordan, he's one hell of a singles wrestler himself. And like you're saying, you don't really see Shank get them one-on-one singles opportunities sometimes. But I recently just tagged with him, if you don't remember, just a few months ago, back in September here in Des Moines. And I'm going to tell you what, before we came out that curtain, I looked Shank in his eyes, and it like you said, it was a different Shank. I could tell. I saw it in the entire match. I saw it when we got back through the curtain after the match, after we whooped some butt. It was amazing. But yeah, I think he's finally getting that confidence where he knows that he can make a run, and if he wants to go and get a title, he could do it.
Speaking of the champion, another good segue there. Aaron Von Buren wrote the latest chapter in his rivalry with Ugly at Christmas Chaos 2 and earned a submission victory to retain his championship. Jason, what has been your thoughts on AVB as the APW champion?
I think there were people that doubted how Aaron Von Buren could ever become champion and stay at the top. I think there were people that thought that when he took the belt off of Ethan Everhart, and not even just took it off him, he stripped that. He stripped the belt away from him with a concerto shot heard around the world.
Right.
I think that when that happened, people started licking their chops for some reason, thinking he's older, he's had multiple injuries, he has wrestled for so long now. He's been in the business as long as I've been in the business. The difference is I've not had 2 serious leg injuries, one including a broken leg. I've not had serious issues with my shoulders. This guy has wrestled several times years after the fact with all these issues. He's been at the top of his game. I think this has been not just, the year for Aaron Von Buren that he's dreamt of. I think this has probably been the best career year he's ever had. I think that he is looking at a huge 2025. Even when we talk about the Shank and everything he's capable of doing in this new, version of him that we're seeing, I don't know if that's enough. I don't know what it's going to take to dethrone Aaron Von Buren, because right now he's at the top of his game. And when you find out, by the way, at the end of the show who he's wrestling, non-title, by the way, at the Winter Brawl Classic, a lot of people are going to have their eyes poking out for this one because it's been a match a lot of people have been requesting for so long now. But even I don't know if that guy, his opponent in January, can beat him. What I do know is that this title run has been amazing to watch. As a fan, as a friend of Aaron Von Buren, I'm very proud of what he's done with that championship. I think he has brought that standard. You look at what Matty Starr did with the championship, even with his deceitful acts, you got to admit talent where there's talent. Ethan Everhart, same thing. With Aaron Von Buren, he has not only taken the belt and kept that integrity with it, but he's raised it to new levels. So whoever wins the championship, they're going to have the work cut out for them in proving why they are the champion of Absolute Pro Wrestling.
One person who's definitely going to be keeping an eye on that in January is going to be the Death Dealer, who was in the main event of Christmas Chaos against an old, long-time foe of his own, and Anthony Draven, and it was the fans bring the weapon match, and with the way that ended, he's going to be even more determined than ever to get back in that situation where he has another opportunity at not only Draven but Aaron Von Buren as well. Ricky, you've been in the ring with the Death Dealer before. What do you feel about a ultra determined, pissed off Death Dealer? What do you think that's going to be like?
Scary. Yeah, it's not something that you want to stand across the ring from, man. It's like, going to the Iowa State Fair and hopping over like the biggest bull and like flicking his nutsack or something and just getting him real mad and seeing what happens. I don't know. Something like that, baby. You ever done that?
Nope.
Don't recommend doing it.
Yep, and he's going to be even more determined than ever. What were your thoughts on how that all played out at Christmas Chaos, Jason?
Well, obviously, I was disappointed in the acts of Aaron Von Buren at the end of the match. I thought that Anthony Draven bit off more than he could chew. Tom Chilstern asked me, why did you put them in this fans bring the weapons match? I told the Death Dealer there needed to be an end to this whole thing, and I feel like we didn't get that at Christmas Chaos. I felt like, if anything, we're left with more uncertainty, and I feel like now Anthony Draven's just going to continue to run his mouth. I've been friends with all three of these guys for over 12 years now, and especially with the Death Dealer, I've been friends with him since we were in school together, if you can imagine that. He kept to himself. He was really reserved at that point. Now you look at him and he's outspoken, but really that's how he speaks. That's how he speaks to the audience. That's how he gets his message across, and the pain he inflicts on his opponent is even louder than that. Aaron Von Buren gets a win over Ugly, going on, retains his championship, and then I guess it's a payback. It's an IOU in return to Anthony Draven after we saw Draven help Aaron Von Buren retain the championship in October at Rage in the Cage, where AVB retained and exited the cage against the Death Dealer. I didn't like what we saw at the end there, but as you heard the Death Dealer say at the end of the night, it's now Aaron Von Buren versus Anthony Draven for the championship in February, or actually, in March, for our first show of the year in Algona. So it's really intriguing to me how that's going to work out when you have two guys who are clearly working together. They're colluding together.
Right.
The IOUs are all out, though. What kind of match we're going to get from Aaron Von Buren. I think we kind of have that figured out. Aaron Von Brutal to the 10th degree. But from Anthony Draven, it's a championship opportunity that he may never get again. And knowing that he tried to stoop to some low levels in that match. He didn't want the table until he had the Death Dealer down, and then he ended up eating that a couple of times.
Right.
And I don't know if he's going to be able to, find the courage to overcome Aaron Von Ruthless inside a professional wrestling ring for the championship. I don't know. You might see him pull out some wacky tactics to try and get by the champion, but it certainly creates an element of intrigue as far as their matchup in March is concerned. But at the end of the day, I didn't like it. I hate it for my friend. I hate it for all my friends because I just wanted this to be over and done with. And now instead, I'm talking to you guys on this after the Bell special because it's not over, and I don't know when it's ever going to be over, but I wish it was. But now we're here.
You talk about Aaron Von Buren as champion. He's definitely a marked man because there's a lot of people who want that championship leading us into January, and we got the Winter Ball Classic. Two other guys that competed at Christmas Chaos that will most likely be in the Battle Royal are two guys that had an opportunity at it in the fatal four-way cage match in Bryce Jordan and Victor Payne. They both came super close to, capturing that dream, and they're both very determined to become champion. What do you think of their match, Jason? And what do you think of Victor Payne and this kind of shift in his attitude over the last few months?
Victor Payne, this was kind of I don't want to say coming out party, but definitely it was a introduction fully to the new side of him. We saw peaks of it in Algona last time out in October when he, did that cheap shot to Alvin Falcone. Then we really saw it in Waterloo when he lost to Alvin Falcone.
Right.
And we saw this new, just, I don't care about what you guys think of me attitude. Doesn't play by the rules, was taking every cheap trick out of the book to go after Bryce Jordan. I think, the size versus the speed was a factor for most of the match. It kind of favored Victor Payne, but Bryce was able to catch him off guard and was able to pull through with the win. But I still think that Victor Payne is as dangerous as ever, even in defeat. You saw him get involved in the main event as well. A lot of people got involved in the main event at Christmas Chaos, but I feel that Victor Payne is in a position in 2025 to continue to showcase just why he is a threat at any given moment in Absolute Pro Wrestling, whether he's chasing after the Openweight Championship or the Heavyweight Championship, or he just wants to cause destruction. I think that in 2025, we're really going to see just what this new side of Victor Payne is all about.
Ricky, what do you think about the prospect of coming across those two? When you step in the ring again, having that opportunity to get a chance at earning a title shot, but knowing that you got to go through quite a few different people who are all just as determined to get there as well.
Oh yeah, baby. If you remember back in the day, I'm not sure if they still do it, but they might have that when they played Mortal Kombat, they had the ladder. You'd go up. I'm at the bottom right now, baby, is what I feel like. And I've been writing down people's names of a ladder that I got to climb. Victor Payne, Bryce Jordan, they're both on that ladder that I have got to conquer. So to get to the top of Shao Kahn, which is currently Aaron Von Buren, man. And man, what a comparison, actually, baby. That's fucking – oh, man, sorry about that. Bleep that. What a comparison. Aaron Von Buren and Shao Kahn, man.
Christmas Chaos, it was a great way to end the year, I thought, for APW, finishing out in Algona. You got so many ties to that place. So it was a great way to bring 2024 to an end with a good show.
Sounds like it.
Set things up for what's coming in 2025 and everything like that. So it was a good one. It was a good way. Good way. Also recently, APW guys, we had the end of the year awards that were given out and the fans voted on it. Different categories that were there. We're going to kind of go over a little bit of those and talk about the winners. Obviously, the first one to start was MVP for APW for 2024. And the winner by fans vote was the Shank as well, which is a very worthy person to go for it. I think the fans voted more for their heart than with their head on that one, because it's hard to overlook what Aaron Von Buren did this year. And Jason, you mentioned it earlier, winning the championship put a lot of people on notice, and then holding on to the championship. He was in 2 cage matches in back-to-back weeks and somehow walked out of the cage both times with the title still around his waist. But, Shank winning it. What are you guys' thoughts on Shank winning MVP for APW this year?
I'm all for it. Maybe the fans did vote a little bit more with their heart, this time around.
And that's okay.
It definitely is. It's definitely okay, but you got to look at most valuable player most valuable wrestler. Shank is, when you break down the Absolute Pro Wrestling roster and you start to, if you want to start breaking it down like maybe like an NFL team or a baseball team or a basketball team or something like that, Shank's definitely in the top 5 payroll, baby. Now, whether that means he's the most valuable, it's hard to say. But he has definitely kind of been a staple behind APW. I don't know if I would say he carried APW a lot this year, but man, from the matches that I saw Shank in, that dude puts everything on the line every damn time.
Yep.
And if you also want to say most valuable, now if it was a fan vote, every time Shank gets in that ring, the fans get their money's worth. It don't matter who he's wrestling, baby. They get their money's worth. He could wrestle for 5 minutes. He could wrestle for 10 minutes. He could wrestle for a half hour. As soon as he hits that curtain, it is bananas, baby. You know, it's pandemonium. You know, the hair on my arm stand up because it's like literal goosebumps every time he just hits the curtain, man. Yeah, I'm all for him winning most valuable player, baby, MVP. I love it.
Shank hates being given credit. He doesn't like the accolades. He doesn't like the fanfare. As a matter of fact, he was trying to get Alvin Falcone, who was in the running as well, to get more votes than him because he hates being acknowledged. But I think as well he's very humble to the fact that there are other guys out there that they're in ring savvy, maybe a little better than his, only because these guys come from a professional wrestling world, whereas he comes from the MMA world, and there's still tricks to the trade that he has not yet gotten down, which I think again makes him even more dangerous than he is right now. I think that it says, okay, that if there's still room for him to grow, that's good at this point in his career. Where if he just hit a standstill, you look at his age, you look at how long he's been a part of the business, you look at where he's at on the card right now, those things are a factor at this point in his career. And if he's still able to have room to grow, that just tells me that what we saw in 24 was just a sample, especially as a late, of what he can do in 25 to be the most successful version of himself that he can be. So I think MVP, well-deserved for Brandon Shank Eubanks.
Yep. Well, I like how you mentioned Alvin Falcone received quite a few votes as well. Now, like we talked about earlier, 2025, it could be very easily Alvin Falcone that we're talking about as the MVP next year. So keep your eyes out for that.
I honestly thought it was going to be Falcone, to be very honest with you. So
it could be on the cusp of that. Could be the year of Alvin Falcone next year. Match of the year was the 10-man Waterloo street fight involving Jason Prentice himself. A rightful choice, I believe, on this one. I think it was probably the wildest match in APW history, and there's been some wild ones. You referenced the Cowboys from Hell earlier, and I think immediately to when they fought the boys in their crazy street fight in Waterloo as well. But this one just took it a whole nother level, you know. And Emmett, obviously my son's been recording a lot of the matches recently, and I just told him, just keep your head on a swivel the entire time and don't get hit with something. And so he was there, tried his best, and it was just chaos all around. And there were little things that happened throughout the match that point to a lot of things that are going on within APW right now. I mean, Jay Wesley and Bryce Jordan having their little moments together, you know, the tension leading into that. Could they get along in this match? And they proved they could. And the 319, or not the 319, but the Free World was such a cohesive unit going into it. But then by the end of it, they're the ones that kind of fell apart. So that was definitely, I believe, the right choice. I agree fully with that one. What were you guys' thoughts on that 10-man street fight?
Ow. That was my initial thought, was just, ow. You guys, listen, I was flopping around like a fish for most of the match because I got hit in the head with a ring bell, okay? Dazed and confused. I get up, I wander over to the big picture. And I'm like, okay, this is going to hurt. Who then takes a chair and just wallows me in the dome. I forgot where I was for about half the match. And as far as everything else around me, you talk about the visual of the matchup. There's smoke everywhere. There's debris everywhere. And I'm just thinking to myself, what the hell did we get into? Like, what the absolute hell? I couldn't believe it. But it was such a thrill to compete with the people from Waterloo, with, you know, the 319, with the boys, to be a part of that. The entrance was, I get goosebumps when I watch it back.
Both
Even watching,
both entrances were fantastic.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like even watching the Free World come out, on top of their game, it was one of those things where, I just you feel it, you're like, okay, it's game on. You get your emotions to it. You got to get them in check for a match like this. But what we did against those 5 men was something very memorable that I won't forget because, well, okay, I probably forgot half of it already, like I said, but for what I remember now, I won't forget it for a long time, but my body definitely won't forget it for a long time either, just because of all the things we put each other through. It was one of the most chaotic, destructive, beautiful things we've ever, done in a wrestling match, I feel. And I feel honored that our fans felt the same way and they voted that as match of the year.
Yeah, I would agree. That's awesome. Like you definitely. I've been in a street fight myself, and that is like one of the first things you think about once you get hit with something that you're not supposed to get hit with, like a chair or an iron or something like that. I remember big old Tammy came chasing me with an iron out of trailer 343, just a couple trailers down. I don't know why it happened a few months ago, but anyway, yeah, that's like the first thing you think about when you get in one of those brawls, baby, is what the hell am I doing? I think my favorite thing about that street fight was Jay Wesley's orange socks. I don't know why, but I'll just say that. Yeah, no, yeah, that was one hell of a match. Yeah, street fights, baby. There's something about the aura of a street fight that the fans just love too. It's just gritty, it's dirty. They just want to see. That's what they're there for. That night they're here to see somebody really get hurt, and y'all got hurt.
Just so everybody is aware, when he says orange, I'm talking like this color orange.
Yeah,
bright ass orange. Listen, just to give you this whole visual, right? We're coming out. We're gonna get these sons of bitches. We're gonna do our thing. I get on the apron, or I go to get up on the apron, and I just see orange out of the just. Whoop, and now I've lost all thought of what am I gonna do in the ring now because these orange socks are so freaking distracting. Clint, you're taking photos of this whole crap show. You got to see these orange socks.
Yeah, that's where I first
and
noticed
take photos of them.
That's where I first noticed it too, is in his pictures. Jay Wesley in his orange socks. I was like,
Clint did black and white photos, and the orange was still there. That's how bright those things were, man. That's how bright these orange socks were.
That's awesome. Yep, that was an interesting choice for sure. Some other matches that received votes were Aaron Von Baron versus the Death Dealer inside the cage, and the Boys taking on Uriah Upton and Trent Hammer. So a couple other ones that were thrown in there as well. I think one that kind of got overlooked was Ethan Everhart versus Aaron Von Baron, but that's in my countdown, so we'll get to that eventually as well. Going back to another category was Moment of the Year, and the winner was Free World and the Waterloo Crew Collide. For you, Jason, what was – I know, Maddie and everybody interfering in your cage match really kind of was the tipping point for you. What was your mindset going into your cage match and then colliding with these guys and this whole moment? Like, for you as a promoter, dealing with disgruntled employees, what was that kind of like for you?
It was such a tough process because it wasn't just you're going to wrestle inside a cage. It was how can you physically, mentally, emotionally get ready for something that is hard on your body, that's tough on your whole frame. It's tough physically, mentally, emotionally to enter a cage one-on-one. I've done this before in a handicap match. I've been in a cage with Death Dealer and Anthony Draven on my side against Tyler Jones and Ugly. And I was able to rely on two guys to kind of carry the load a little bit because I'm not a wrestler. And a lot of people had their doubts of how I could handle myself. I talked a lot with guys like Shank, guys like Justin Decent, guys like James Jeffries. I said, what do I do? How do I physically get ready? And a lot of it came down to my diet and exercise, but also doing things in those exercises that focused on strength training and also being able to get my cardio to a place where if he tries to run the distance with me, he's gonna have an easy picking with me. If he wants to, try and play around with me for 40 minutes, he's probably gonna kill me. All right, he's a tactical son of a bitch. Cole Cannon came in with a game plan, and it was effective for a little while. I got a couple of things in there that I even was surprised. I was very surprised by what I could do, and I'm just happy that we went in and did what we, my team. I say we because it is a team effort. My family, my friends, and I'm happy that we went in with this game plan. It was effective until the very end. That clothesline, I've been working on that clothesline for years, guys. I threw that thing in from Tennessee to Iowa. That's how it felt, man. I was just pulling all my anger, man. I've thrown that clothesline before, and it's been deadly in Tennessee. And I said, I'm going to bust it out in Iowa and see what happens. And I was too slow, man. You look at this frame. I'm very slow, okay? I wasn't able to get to the cover quick enough, but at the end, when the free world gets involved, it was heartbreaking for my family to watch it. I told them, I said, it was heartbreaking for you guys. Imagine what it was like for me to not get my fair shake at this guy and put an end to all of this, and it sucks. But I'm honored to be number 15 out of 24. There's a lot of matches that Clint goes through and goes to put this list together. And the fact that I had in Clint's mind one of the top matches of the year for us and for Iowa wrestling as a whole, it makes me feel good about what I'm doing as not just a promoter, but as a performer. And it gives me hope that next year, if I decide to try and put on leather pants, I'll never do that again. It'll never happen. Too much ass crack hanging out, boys. We learned a lesson, guys. But if I ever decide to throw on any kind of pants to get in a wrestling ring, it inspires me to do the best I can and hopefully end up on a list again.
Ricky, I got a question for you. Seeing this year and the issues that came between the free world and the 319, you came back from the injury late in the year. Had you been, active, not injured, where do you think you would have landed in this whole free world versus the Waterloo crew? Where would Ricky Bronson possibly have landed in this? Or would you have just kind of stuck to your own thing?
Whoever's got the most money, baby. I'm a mercenary, man. You know what I'm saying? Whoever's got the most money, baby. That's what I'm saying. You better open them pocketbooks, baby. I'm looking at you up there, man.
Most money and most Coors Light. You better have it on supply. That's
hey, now we could barter. We could be bartering, baby. Ricky Bronson services for Coors, man. You don't know what I do. You don't know what I've done for beer in the past. Now, kicking someone's ass for beer is nothing. All right? So just keep that in mind. Just keep that in mind, baby. I'm telling you.
Great answer. A couple other moments that were on the list. Cole Cannon returning the way he did with such a violent and threatening return, getting his way back into the company. And then Aaron Von Buren winning the championship from Ethan Everhart. And then a couple free world moments, Big Picture joining, and then Jackson King being discarded by the free world after the 10-man street fight. So a lot of great moments within APW this year, but I think the rightful winner was the free world and Waterloo crew colliding. Another category was newcomer of the year, which was won by Trent Hammer. A couple other people that were in contention were Jackson Slater, Sadie Bell, and Uriah Upton. Last category was best women's wrestler. That was won by Kelsey Magnolia. Other contenders were Frankie J, the Hale Twins, and then Sadie Bell. Obviously, the last show of the year just wrapped up a couple weeks ago. Heading into 2025, the big show, obviously, the Winter Brawl Classic on January 25th. Jason, what can we kind of expect out the gate, and then what can we expect for the year? For APW coming up.
Well, I can tell you, I can break some news. We got to break some news on this thing, right? I can tell you one, Ricky Bronson's in the Winter Brawl Classic. That's the first big news.
Yeah, baby.
He's been training. He's jacked up, ready to go. He wants to win that Diana Cup and take it back home to the trailer park. It'll be the shiniest thing in the trailer park, he says.
We put in that cup, baby. We put oh yeah, baby. You said you were paying me in not in envelopes anymore, baby, but in coolers, baby. Coolers and cases.
The trophy named after my grandmother is going to be desecrated by the stench of Coors, and I can't wait. So we got the Winter Brawl Classic coming up January 25th. I had a great meeting with the mayor about it recently. He's looking forward to this event. The people at the Cedar Valley Sportsplex really excited about this event. Something to be excited about as well is the first tag match of the new year will be for the APW tag team titles. It'll be the 319, that being Jay Wesley and Ethan Everhart. They'll defend their titles in Waterloo against the Free World. I know you're saying, what have they done lately? What have they done for me lately? Well, they begged and pleaded for this match. It is kind of do or die for the Free World, and they got to do something here. It is Matty Starr leading the charge with Leo Santel as his tag partner. Tag titles are on the line. A lot riding on this matchup for the Free World and, of course, for the 319 because it is a title match. With that being said, that's match number one to look forward to, aside from the big Winter Brawl at the end. Now, another matchup, not for the title, Aaron Von Baron. A lot of people have been wondering, who is he going to face at the Winter Brawl Classic? Well, folks, I'm here to break the news to you here. It's going to be put together nice and in a little box with a bow on top. You're going to see all the video packages about it here over the next couple of weeks. But I can formally announce, and these guys don't even know about it either, that it will be Aaron Von Baron, non-title action. He will be in the ring one-on-one for the first time in Absolute Pro Wrestling against Justin Decent. The Cowboys are going to collide for the first time in an Absolute Pro Wrestling ring and for the first time since they've been a tag team. They were, of course, the Cowboys from Hell. They were destroying people up and down the Midwest for years. They split here last year, or actually this year, pardon. And now as we head into the new year, Justin Decent looking to get a little revenge on his former partner. He's talked about this matchup and what it means to him, why he's going after his former tag partner, his former friend even. Aaron Von Baron, he put out the challenge, somebody step up. Well, somebody's going to step up. January 25th, it's a non-title matchup, but there's a lot of implications if Decent is able to beat his former Cowboy stablemate. So those are two matches right there. I guess we got to remind folks as well, yes, the Winter Brawl Classic is happening, and also another title match. The Big Picture defends the Openweight Championship against the number one contender, Alvin Falcone. I don't know what's going on that one. If Big Picture walks away again, obviously champ retains via disqualification. Unless, I don't know, somebody's to say from management that the title can change hands on a disqualification or a count out. So a little pressure on the Big Picture, I guess, because yes, I'm going to say it right now. The Big Picture cannot retain his title via disqualification or a count out. He's got to defend it like a man, and he's got to do it against Alvin Falcone. Win at all costs, sure, but at what cost if you're the Big Picture? So that's where we're at, gentlemen. Those big matches, more to be announced over the next few weeks for Absolute Pro Wrestling. Got a big Fatal 4 we're working on. Can't wait to. I think I'm gonna have Clint Dye drop that on our medias here. So a lot of that happening again Saturday, January 25th, all a part of the Winter Brawl Classic.
Awesome! I can't wait for that.
Yep, sounds like that's going to be a fantastic card. Then capping it with the Battle Royal with Mr. Bronson returning to action that night for that. It's going to make for one hell of a start to the year for sure. So I'm excited.
I guess besides Ricky Bronson, I guess we can reveal maybe a couple of people that are in the Winter Brawl that aren't necessarily in singles action. Cole Cannon will be in the Winter Brawl Classic.
Thank you.
No matter, listen, no matter my feelings on the guy, he did defeat me by whatever means. He has a contract that says he has to compete, so we kind of have to abide to that a little bit. But he's a talented individual. He's a former openweight champion. Only time I'm going to say nice things about that guy before I beat his face in again. He'll be in the match.
Mr. Prentice, just real quick.
Yep.
Me and you can do some business here and
Do some stuff.
Yeah, we can talk about cocaine in that match.
Be in the match, but I know that another person who'll be in the match is a guy that Ricky Bronson's a big fan of. That's Daniel Mott. Daniel Mott is
baby! Woo!
Big underdog. I think he's got a shot at this one. One other guy to announce for the Winter Brawl Classic that I'm excited to announce. It's his first time in the Winter Brawl Classic, and he's somebody who, I'll be honest with you, we've signed a few dates with him already for 2025 in Waterloo. He's usually seen in Algona. The Death Dealer will make his Winter Brawl Classic debut in January. Excited to have him a part of it. You talk about the stakes. Obviously, winner goes to the Super Slam event to challenge for the APW Championship, guaranteed. The winner gets the trophy. Yeah. Grandmother. You look at the stakes; they've never been higher. You look at who's in the match already. There's a list. It might be yay high, but there's some serious threats already put into that matchup. All those guys have a chance to win this matchup and headline Super Slam 3.
Well, all right, fellas. I think this has been a good debut episode. Anything else you guys want to add before we wrap it up?
Yeah, follow us on socials. See what we're doing. Get ready for the biggest event of the year, one of the biggest events of the year with the Winter Brawl Classic. Get involved. Get your tickets now. It was the highest attended event last year. Almost 400 people inside the Sportsplex. We also had Pat McAfee putting over our show. So you guys got to check it out. January 25th. And again, stay tuned to social medias. Check out Clint Dye's top 24 of 2024. And get ready for a wild 2025 where you will probably see more of our matches on Clint's list.
All right, guys. Until next time, we'll see you guys ringside.